Here we're looking at my TORO Z Master. It's a 52-inch zero turn. I purchased it used last season. So far it's been a great mower. Cuts the grass really well. It's powered by a Kohler CV20S, obviously a 20 horsepower. In fairly good condition. You know, there's a little bit of rust and some minor issues, but again, it cuts grass very well. Seems to be powered well for my property, and I've been happy with the purchase so far. Early this spring I had noticed on initial startup with the Kohler CV20S, on initial startup I'll get a puff of white smoke coming out of the exhaust, and also had noticed on the wall in my garage, initially there was oil that was spitting out of the exhaust. Not much, but enough to be of a concern, and obviously it needs to be corrected. I've done some research on YouTube trying to identify what the cause of this is, and I believe it has to do with a blown head gasket on this engine. I don't think it's a severe issue currently. I've seen some instances on YouTube where it's just continually pumping out white smoke, but in my case it's only on initial startup, and again, if I've been cutting the grass and waiting a while and then restarting at a later time, I'll get a little bit of white smoke coming out. But after that initial discharge of white smoke out of the exhaust, it quickly goes away. I have noticed a minimal amount of oil usage, you know, when I check the dipstick. It's gone down a little bit, but nothing significant. So with the research I've been doing on YouTube, there's a couple things that I will be checking first. This engine in particular has 2 overhead valves, right there on the left side, and one on the right side. So I initially will pull the spark plugs, see if there's any buildup of carbon, which will help me point me in the direction of which one is the issue. As mentioned earlier, I was going to check the spark plugs, hoping to identify which side, the left side or the right side, may have the blown head gasket. I've gone ahead and removed the spark plug wire, hit it with a wrench to loosen it up. Here's the right side, if I can get it out. Okay, the right spark plug relatively clean. A little bit of carbon up on the top there. So that's our right side. Again, popped off the wire and the spark plug on the left side, loosened it a little bit, and now just hand spinning it out. In this particular case, I do have more of a buildup of carbon. Comparing the two, let's see here. So comparing the two, the left and the right one in the photo here seems to be a lot cleaner, drier, less of a buildup on it. Obviously, if I hope it's in focus here, the left spark plug wet, looks like it's oily or wet carbon buildup. Definitely needs a cleaning. Side by side, quite a difference in the two. So my assumption is the left side of the engine is where my potential problem would be. Since I'm going to have the engine somewhat apart, thankfully this engine is relatively easy to get to those two locations, except for the left side where I'll have to remove the gate, around the muffler itself, in order to be given a little extra room in order to get to the valves there. On the right side, much easier to access. So again, since I'm going to have both open, actually the engine up a little bit and working on it, just decided we'll switch out. I'll replace both head gaskets. Again, if that's the issue here, I'll just swap both of them out, since I have no idea when this was ever done or has been done in the past. I've had the engine running for a little while now. I did mention earlier in the video where I would open up the oil dipstick and I'd get the exhaust smoke coming out of it, along with spurting of oil. I'm not an engine guy. I don't know the internal workings of an engine. If this would be a normal occurrence for at least for the oil to be spurting out while the engine is running. Obviously, the exhaust smoke coming out of it is not a normal thing. My thought is the head gasket is forcing the exhaust into the oil reserve, causing it to spatter out. So let's go take a look and we'll see if that happens. Confirm that's still happening. Trust me, the oil was misting out. It's all over my hands and all over the side of the unit. And also you couldn't miss the exhaust smoke coming right out of the dipstick there. So that's just another one of the items that's a lead. Definitely another indication that it's potentially a head gasket blown. My thought it's going to be on the left side, as the spark plug was definitely oil covered, wet, while the right side was completely dry and actually relatively clean. But again, that left one was definitely somewhat encrusted and wet and oily. My next steps now with my TORO Z Master in the identification of the white smoke coming out and also the oil spitting out of the exhaust is to start pulling it apart. What I'm going to be doing at this point is as you can see, the mower's jacked up. Going to remove the exhaust guard in order to get into the OHV chamber there on the left side, which I believe to be the culprit. As previously indicated, the spark plug on this particular side was very wet, oily, and a lot of carbon buildup on it. What I also will be doing is removing the right side and taking a look at that, and likely we'll be replacing the head gasket on this one too. I'm hoping that what I'm thinking the issue is the head gasket and not anything to do with the O-rings on the piston or any issues with the chamber itself, or even the valves. I guess simplicity wise, it would be easier just to replace the head gasket on the left and the right side. What I also will be doing is taking off the guard off of the top of the mower here so I can rotate the engine when it comes to that point. Alright, things are moving along. So far I've removed the guard around the exhaust pipe there. I've also taken the cover off the air filter, removed some unit that was right here. Sorry, I don't know the name of it. I also removed the guard off of the top of the engine, which will allow me to rotate the engine. But to make things easier to rotate the engine, pulled out both spark plugs in the process of cleaning the one. That's what I've done so far. Next will be removing the overhead valve covers on the left and then on the right. Thanks. Okay, at this point, remove the valve covers off of the left and the right side. I had to remove also the air filter and cover. Removed an additional couple screws up here holding the housing in place. Now it's loosening up the rocker and see how it comes out. Alright, as you can see, there's been a lot of changes since since I last recorded a clip here. As you can see, I had to take off the whole plastic housing around the top. The hydro fluid reserve tank needed to become unbolted. I removed, I undid the carburetor and the tubing that goes to each of the where it goes into the piston. So that needed to be removed. The bolts to the exhaust system down there, and I managed finally to get the head off. Took a lot more time than expected, but what I came up with is that I do have an issue. Looks like the head gasket had torn slightly, as you can see here. Let's see. So it's positioned like that. Oops. Just like that, and you can see in the bottom left corner here, you see that little blowout, a difference in that little spot there. I knew I had a small issue. Obviously, it wasn't smoking all the time. Again, it was just initially. Inside here you can see a little bit of carbon buildup on the top of the piston there. It's a little dirty. I got some crud in there I have to clean up. So that's that, and with the part that was pulled off, definitely have it's definitely going to need some cleaning. A lot of carbon on the bottom one, and you can see right there is where it matched up to the gasket. So we definitely did have some oil and exhaust and everything blowing right through that. And on the top of this piston, definitely see a lot of buildup and kind of the mess down here. So obviously there was an issue. I will work on this. I'll clean it up. I'll show you what it looks like once I'm done cleaning up the head here, and obviously the inside there. Get that all cleaned up and ready to go. I got a new gasket. You know, definitely at this point realizing how much work was needed for just the left side. I mean, the right side's exposed at this point, so it would be silly for me to not do this side. So once I get the left side done, I'll get that all finished up, and then I'll start working on the right side. And what I did learn is apparently I have hydro I'm drawing blank on the actual word. Hydro something. I'll figure it out and I'll let you guys know when I get back. Thanks. Okay, we're back. What I couldn't think of before was hydraulic lifts on this particular mower. So in the meantime here, I've been cleaning the surface. Looks pretty good. Got everything off of the face of that, along with this side, cleaning up as best I can. The surface is free of any remnants, previous gasket. The one valve here was really caked on. Had to get a mild grinder and grind some of it off, but this is probably the best that I can do with it right now. And just cleaned off the surface of this too. So now I'll be putting the gasket in, reinstalling this portion here. I'll see you then. Thanks. Okay, I'm showing you the nearly complete head, which involved the replacement of the head gasket. Everything's been cleaned up. I've reinstalled everything, tightened them down to specs. Manufacturer says to put the bolts initially down to 15 pounds, and then once that's complete for all four of them, then turn around and torque them down to 30. I also torqued down the rockers. They were torqued down to 8 pounds according to my my documentation that I had. I'll share with you at the end of this this clip here the order of the bolts being torqued down. So last night I worked on removing the other head from the engine. This is on the right side. To my surprise, when I had pulled out the spark plug originally, this side was relatively clean. Well, at least the spark plug was relatively clean. But as you can see on this side, actually it's a lot more carbon buildup, and we even noticed down in the center there at the bottom some oil down at the bottom there, and something a little different down here. So not really sure what's going on, but I was expecting this to be clean. And when I pulled, here's the other end of the head. You can see how filthy the valves are on this. And again, indicating down here how we have a lot more black. And actually down here you see the looks like some oil. I never really had an oil spill from here. The only thing I noticed when I pulled it off was that there was a little bit of wet oil in this corner over here. But this one was actually a lot more difficult. Underneath you have the two exhaust bolts that go into the head. And then there were also these two smaller bolts that actually attached to the head with this plate here, so they were a lot harder to get to. So what I'll actually do now is I'm using my Dremel with a brass brush on it, and I'm going to clean up the entire thing. I'm going to look into see why it looks like this right here. This is the gasket that came off of it, and it, oops. So so it went like this. So when you flip it around on the bottom here, you can see it looks a little different. I do notice right there on the hole that there's a little breakage of the gasket. So I'm thinking if this was a pathway for oil that is actually getting out here, so it would look like this. So which could be an explanation why it's so oily. A lot of carbon buildup. I'll be back after I clean it all up. Thanks. Hey, as you can see, I jumped ahead and reassembled everything. I put in a new exhaust gasket on both sides. One of them was okay, but the other one was rusted out partially. So, you know what? Since you have everything out and everything apart, just makes sense. Just a lot easier. Go and replace it right then and there. Also put on new gasket covers for the OHV. Replaced those two, so everything's good to go. Reassembled everything and it started up. No smoking. Pretty happy with it.